Well, it's Friday, so that means it's time for the Friday Blitz, postcards from the world of pop culture and entertainment.
Freaky Friday, you might call it as
There you
well.
go.
You know how it works.
Especially with the Lindsay Lohan.
Yeah, that's true, exactly.
Isn't she?
Isn't she? On our panel today, Shom FM DJ Jason Rockman, who is normally in Montreal, but he is in Toronto today. His band, Slaves on Dope, is in town this weekend as part of the North by Northeast Festival. Meantime, out in sunny Vancouver today, we have Jeremy Szafron, going casual today in the sweater vest. And out in Halifax, we have CTV's entertainment specialist, Maria Panopalis, who is back on the panel after some much-needed vacation.
All right, so let's start with the first story we want to talk about. It's about this brawl between Chris Brown and Canadian sensation Drake. It's been reported that the two got into a fight earlier this week. Apparently, Chris sent over a bottle to Drake to taunt him, and the fight broke out. Chris Brown then went on a Twitter rampage after the scuffle and tweeted a picture of the gash on his chin, which you just saw at the very beginning there. He has since removed that tweet, but now police are investigating the matter. So, Jeremy, what are you hearing about this brawl? What's it all about?
Oh my God! It just never ends. You know, every week somehow this guy ends up in the headlines, and it's funny because Chris Brown has such a huge reputation of this, and we never have really seen aggressive behavior come out of Drake. But both camps are denying their involvement in it, saying that no, Drake was leaving the club at this time. But it's interesting because there were some revelations that happened this morning, and that was in Manhattan. They actually called an emergency meeting with the nightclub owners to discuss new bottle service policies, because we have to remember that in the midst of all of this, a little girl from Australia, well, I shouldn't say little, was hit by a bottle during the meantime and had 16 stitches, just innocently standing there. So it's not okay. I know it's almost like we're back in an episode of Degrassi.
That was a good one. I like that.
Jason, you are, of course, the front man for a punk band as well, and you know things sometimes get a little bit rock and roll out there. Do you think this was the right move, though, for Chris Brown to tweet out a shot of his chin being gashed?
Well, I think after all the things that were tweeted out after he did his own beating, yeah, if I was him, I would have to send a bottle over to Drake to taunt him. At this point, you should just go away. I mean, you know, you got your Grammy Award last year. You're kind of back in the good books when it comes to Hollywood. Stay away from confrontation. But obviously, we know that this guy's got it in his blood.
And Maria, I mean, the one thing we haven't talked about is the connection between these two men is a certain someone, Rihanna. Possibly
a little bit of a love triangle. Well, yeah, you know, some people are speculating that that's where this whole feud started in the first place. And, you know, they may be right. We can't speculate, but they're also kind of in the same world, and maybe there's a little bit of jealousy and competitiveness between these two guys. The interesting thing is how they handled it. Drake's camp, as soon as this happened, they contacted the Associated Press, you know, a legitimate news source. They told their side of the story, so the next day you're hearing it from the Associated Press. Meanwhile, you've got Chris Brown going home that night, tweeting a picture of this, you know, chunk out of his chin and, you know, a few profanities along with it. And the next thing you know, he's retracting it all. He's pulling it offline. So he's kind of, you know, making himself look like he's, you know, done something wrong. So, you know, I think maybe Chris Brown needs to take a book out of Drake's book there, take a page out of his book, and maybe figure out how to handle the press, because so far Drake's doing a better job. That being said, no arrests have been made. Neither of the guys are actually suspects. And the police are actually saying that Chris Brown is a witness and a victim in this whole thing. So we'll see how it all plays out.
Okay, guys, speaking of tweets and showdowns and confrontations, Winnipeggers are fighting back after movie star Rob Lowe tweeted that in a hashtag, he said that he was trapped in a hellhole. Well, in Winnipeg, he tweeted this after the fourth quarter of the NBA Finals on television was cut short to cover municipal elections in Winnipeg. And Jeremy, Rob Lowe later clarified he was tweeting about the bar that he was in, not the city. So do Winnipeggers have a right to get mad with this hellhole reference?
Well, it's amazing what Twitter will actually do to someone these days. I think that that's the story. But also what's interesting is that the feed that he was watching the NBA, there was no elections going on in Manitoba or Winnipeg. So he was actually watching a feed coming from North Dakota, which is an American station, and then he tweets this kind of thing. He later kind of apologized in a different sort of way, saying that he's going to find a new sports bar to find the games to watch. But he also went to one of the minor league baseball games down in Winnipeg. So he's definitely kind of backstepping his little trail there.
Yeah, he's been tweeting that he loves Winnipeg. Maria, is it too little too late?
I think so. I have to say, you know, my hometown is like my sibling, and I can say whatever I want. I can have my beef with Halifax, but if somebody who's not from here starts talking trash, I'm going to come out with guns a-blazing. And Winnipeggers certainly did that. A lot of the tweets that he got back were things like, well, you can leave any time, and they called him every name in the book. So I don't know. And you know what? If he didn't get this backlash, he probably would have gone on, you know, kind of thinking what he was thinking about Winnipeg. I've never been there, but I'm sure it's a lovely, lovely place.
Okay, well, let's talk about Sarah Jessica Parker hosting a fundraising event with President Obama. $40,000 or so, lots of money raised. Jason, what's your take on SJP, as she's known as?
Well, I think a lot of the because obviously Mitt Romney's money is coming from a different source. A lot of the stars are rallying around Obama now. They're trying to give him as much support as they can. I think it was pretty interesting. I mean, it was very, very limited. There were 50 people invited, $40,000 a head, but you got a 30-minute one-on-one with Obama, which is, you know, if you've got the money, it's pretty interesting. It's nice that they're doing it. Is it too little, too late? We'll see. But you know, you're going to see a lot more of this as the election gets closer and closer. More people having these events because Obama's got to raise money.
Well, you know, speaking of money, I think I heard that last night they raised something like maybe it was 4. I'm just trying to check.
Well,
the
between the two, they had one, the private one, then another one where they invited 200 people, and between the two events, they raised over $4.2 million.
Ah, okay. And then I heard, meanwhile, Romney had no celebrities, and he managed to raise $3.5 million yesterday. So interesting. But Jeremy, you know, we were talking about Clooney not so long ago having, you know, an event to raise money for Obama at his place. I mean, should celebrities be mixing with politics?
You know, I think that they do have a big influence. Their support obviously raises a lot of questions with other people because the influence is there. But at the same time, I mean, I don't see that there's anything wrong with it. What I found interesting about this one was Anna Wintour, who's the, I guess, the editor-in-chief at Vogue, also co-hosted this event, and they had a pool where normal civilians, such as us, could actually get into that fundraiser as well, just with donating $3 or above. So they're definitely trying to do things, but a lot of money. And when it goes back to Romney, I wonder how much of that came out of his own little checkbook, you know?
And finally, guys, we're going to extend this panel by an extra minute or so, because I got to ask, we have to ask about Dallas. The return of Dallas. I remember growing up watching this show, South Fork and the Ewing family, and waking up in the shower, and the whole thing was a dream. Maria, what are your thoughts about trying to revive shows like this?
Well, why not? You know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And you know what? That show actually had the biggest open of, or I should say debut, of any cable show so far this season. The critics, however, not liking it so much. Some of them saying Dallas is new but not improved, and, you know, other choice words. They're kind of complaining about the acting, saying that the plot isn't very good. But you know what? From what I understand, I didn't watch it the first time around, but it's very similar to what was happening, you know, 25 years ago. So I think people are watching it. We'll see what the numbers are next week, and we can reassess.
Jason, I just want to have you with the last comment. I think it's so interesting that so many of the actors that are going to be in this series, they weren't even alive when the last one came out.
And the thing is, and Todd will understand this, imagine Harrison Ford and Mark Hamill doing episodes 7, 8, and 9, how it would make sense. And you've got Billy Duffy and you've got Larry Hagman that are the original characters that are playing the parents to these young kids. I think it really ties in well if you're a Dallas fan, for sure.
All right, Jason Rockman in Vancouver, Jeremy Szafron. Wait, I got that wrong. Jason Rockman is in Toronto, usually in Montreal. Jeremy Szafron is in Vancouver, and in Halifax, we've got Maria Panopalis. Thanks to all of you guys. Really appreciate it.